Welcome to Excel Beyond Boundaries, episode 24 with Lauren Ohayon, who is a pelvic floor movement therapist. And I'm honored to have you on today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. So I wanted to start with taking it way back. Where did your fitness journey begin?
I would say, well, my fitness journey began as a mover. I've always used movement as my main form of communication with my life. So between like the veil between like me and the outside world, the communication, all of that was always via movement. I've always been a mover. I trained formally as a yoga teacher 25 years ago. And I have since done like a Pilates training and a bazillion courses. But my first like certification in what I first started teaching was yoga
Very nice. And then
many years ago.
how did you get into the pelvic floor educating and all of that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had a back injury in my 20s. I mean, it really started with my own injury. I was a very, very kind of hyperly flexible yoga person. I was amazing as a yoga person. And I got my own injury, and I was a very, very, very good candidate for surgery, but I didn't want surgery. I was only like 23. And so I was like, I'm not having surgery. It took me a year to heal. And so I was like literally in bed for on and off for a year. It was a really serious injury,
Wow.
but I did heal myself and it was amazing. All sorts of, I just got very curious in that year of healing that I couldn't really move that much. And I was like, why was I injured? I'd like to avoid this in the future. And so I was like, I teach movement, but I don't know very much about the body. And everything I knew had been passed down like from my teacher. My teacher said, stand with your knees like this, stand with your arms like that, do this with your body. But like, there was no, if somebody said to me, hey, Lauren, why should I stand like that? I'd be like, I don't know, because that's what the teacher told me to do. That's what somebody else told me that that's right. I really didn't know. It was terrible. I mean, it's not terrible. I think it's just the evolution of things. So I started by just like studying a lot of anatomy and biomechanics and getting to know the body. I was super curious about all of that. And then I had 3 children in 3 years.
Wow.
So yeah, well, like 3.5 years. Then I just kind of started working a lot with pregnant people and postpartum people. And the things that they were coming to me with, like my physical therapist told me blah, blah, blah. And I was like, really? Why would they say that? Like, that's an interesting way to think about the pelvic floor. And I realized that like the context of the pelvic floor was like, just squeeze it and everything will be fine. And I was like, that just doesn't make sense. Like when you actually think about it, like when you're a thinker and you have any, like even rudimentary experience as a personal trainer, you should know that that doesn't make sense. So I was like, okay, that really just doesn't make sense. Why are we saying that? When we see people walking around with their biceps on and like this kind of pattern all the time, their biceps
Yeah.
contract, we would never say, just contract it more. That's not what we would offer somebody.
So true.
Why are we offering that to the pelvic floor? And I think it's because people did have like very little understanding of the working of the pelvic floor. So I just got very curious to create a model of care that made sense. And then, so I started kind of dabbling. My online program I've had for over 10 years, right? It's that old, like
Wow.
pre-COVID. And I was like, what would happen if I created a program that kind of, because I started joining all these Facebook groups too. And again, became like the person who answered all these questions for all these women. It was mostly females at that point, asking all these questions about their body and their pelvic floor. And the answers they were getting, I was like, no,
So
no, and it
crazy.
was, yeah, and it was a lot of confusing fit with function. Like, you know, thinking that somebody with washboard abs has a strong core. Strength has nothing to do with what it looks like on the outside. It can. Somebody can look very strong, but why do athletes have so many injuries? I mean, it's like there's no correlation between fit and function.
That's so true.
And so I created this online program and I was like, I just want to educate like women, mostly women, to feel really safe in their body, not to feel broken, not to chase. You know, if you want to be like 0% body fat, go for it. Like, I'm not going to stop you, but not to think that that was going to mean strength. I just kind of, that's how I got into it. That's a very long answer to your question,
No,
but
no, that was perfect.
that was the
And
evolution.
that was fascinating because I didn't realize there's such a disconnect between, the industry and specifically that niche, which is so
Hmm.
important because it is such a large population. I don't believe they were told so many misconceptions.
And 1 out of 3 females has pelvic floor dysfunction. And a ton of men contact me for for work, and they're like, I think I have pelvic floor issues. One guy recently was like, I asked my doctor if I have a pelvic floor, and he was like, I think you do.
No, you're
Yeah,
kidding
because
me.
doctors deal with emergencies, not necessarily muscle. He was like, I think you should ask the doctor told him, I think you should ask your physical therapist that question. And I was like, okay.
That is crazy though. The disconnect between the medical industry and health, wellness, physical therapy. It's
Oh, yeah.
definitely, would you say it's definitely getting better?
Yeah, I think there's more awareness to it. I do think that it's like, there's certain topics that are trending. And I think pelvic floor is one of them that is trending in a way. I hope it's getting better. One would hope.
Well,
It's hard to say.
you're definitely bringing awareness and
Thank
education.
you.
It's cool to have
Thank you.
seen your journey over the years. Because I remember I
Thank
took,
you.
as I mentioned, you're welcome. I took that course a long time ago, the Foot
Yeah,
Collective.
Florida Core course.
I think
Or
it was
maybe you did. Yeah, that's Courtney's program.
but you were there
Yes.
though.
I think I did. Yes. I did a guest speaking for them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I learned so much, but then I started following you, and then I saw, education and everything over the years.
hmm
But yeah, I definitely see demand for all of that. I've got to ask, what are the symptoms of,
Yeah.
you said 1 in 3 women, what can women
Yeah.
look for to see if they have a weak floor,
Well,
pelvic
like
floor?
low back pain is one of the main symptoms that people don't even realize. Like low back pain is often a symptom of a pelvic floor issue too. Hip pain. And then like if we're talking very locally to like local pain with intercourse, difficulty to orgasm, difficulty post orgasm. So difficulty post orgasm is a very common complaint for males as well.
Interesting.
So like pain post orgasm.
Wow.
But the male pelvic floor is practically the same as the female, so it makes sense. And I even have males who have prolapse. So prolapse is where the organs descend lower. So for a female, it's the uterus, or the uterus, the bladder, the rectum. So the pelvic floor muscles, organs, sorry, they drop lower down and can end up in a female vaginal canal. So some females, yeah, a lot of people don't know this. It's super interesting. Yeah, some females look down between their legs and they're like, I can see my uterus in my vagina. That's an extreme case, but we see it all the time. It's like extreme in presentation, but not extreme in commonality. It's very common actually. So females can have prolapse, which is again where you have either a mild amount of like the uterus is lower. I mean, the cool thing about the female body is that we can stick our fingers up it. Like we can get our hands right up into our vagina, which I think is very amazing. I'm excited about that. And at the top, you can feel your own cervix, which I don't know. I'm not used to like males don't always talk about this with me, but it's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
So the cervix, and a lot of females don't. They don't spend time like knowing like where's my cervix. But if it goes lower and lower and lower and lower, it's suddenly all the way down there. You will start noticing and feeling that like your entire pelvic organ home is much lower in your vagina. So you might feel pain, pressure, incontinence. People are always like, well, but women are supposed to leak urine. I'm like, are they? Who told you that myth? Why are we supposed to leak urine? Because we have more holes than men? So there, yes, incontinence is another symptom of pelvic floor dysfunction.
Okay.
Again, all the like pain with sex, difficulty to orgasm. Some people get like very, very close to orgasm and then can't get over that hump. Like they just can't. And that's like incredibly frustrating. That's another symptom. All of those. And then with males, it's like tailbone pain. Well, females too,
Interesting.
tailbone pain. Yeah. Pain around your sacrum, like low back pain right around your tailbone sacrum area, pelvic floor issues. And then males can actually, it's more rare, but they can get a prolapse too.
Wow. This is
Yeah,
fascinating.
I know. And they don't have a hole for it to come out of. So like their perineum, they're suddenly just like, what is all that pressure on my perineum?
Sounds painful for sure.
It is very uncomfortable. And like, we're not used to feeling that. So then we freak out and then we get more tense and then it hurts more.
But yeah. How
Yeah.
does that happen? Over time, just they're weak from sitting a lot, or what would you say?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think about it, I try to describe it in terms of pressure. So if you take a ball and you squeeze the ball, literally just take a ball and squeeze the top, the bottom will bulge out and push out. So that's pressure. If you take toothpaste and you squeeze the top, simple physics, the bottom,
Makes
the
sense.
toothpaste comes out. So a lot of people have a lot of tightness and tension above. Like the core canister is literally like it's a whole air-filled pressure volume dominated system of organs, muscle, tissue, right? Like spanning from your rib cage, even like the diaphragm is right under the heart. The heart sits on the diaphragm. So we're talking like diaphragm, but if you want to think about it as starting with your mouth, because that's where we breathe in from, right? And so like there's all this pressure, and the pelvic floor is the bottom. Your body is constantly modulating pressure and movement, coughing, talking. Like, did you know that when you talk, it's on an exhale? Most people don't even know that. They're like, well, if I thought about it, I guess so. But like talking happens on an exhale, which means if you were to say a really, really, really long sentence to me now without taking any air in, you would start to feel your pelvic floor squeezing at the end because you are tightening and tightening and tightening and tightening and tightening because you're on an exhale, 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 and you're pressing, pressing, pressing down. You know, your volume and pressure work hand in hand. The lower the volume, the higher the pressure. So exhaling, you're decreasing volume, you're increasing pressure. And so most people who have a pelvic floor issue, it's not that necessarily the pressure caused it, but it's not helping that they are overpressurizing their core and pelvic floor constantly, including with like speaking. So a lot of my work is focused on like, are you too tight in your shoulders and rib cage and spine and pelvis? Can we just free up the system to get better balance in this whole core system?
Wow. So that's
Which relieves pressure on the pelvic floor. Yeah, no, I was kind of done.
no worries.
Yeah.
That's amazing because yeah, no one speaks on this stuff. You're literally the
No.
only one that I've come across that speaks on this stuff, and it sounds like everybody, a majority of people need to know this information.
I would say, I mean, it's good when your pelvic floor works. There's a lot of nerve endings in there. There's a lot of tissue. There's a lot of organs. There's a lot of muscles. I mean, we're so focused on the core, but it's the bottom of the core. And when we talked about gait, every step you take, the place in your body where that force is transmitted through the rest of your body is your pelvic floor. Like your pelvic floor is literally the conduit of forces like that happen every step you take. So we absorb it in our pelvic floor and then we transmit it off our pelvic floor. It's such an important body part, but it's so tied up with shame.
It
So
is.
we just don't talk about it because it's an embarrassing area to think about for most people. Yeah.
That is interesting. And I love how holistic it is, in a sense. How you said, in order to begin to fix it, you have to free up tension in your shoulders and sort of do a whole assessment overall. What would you say for those who are going to listen? What's the first step? Once they identify they have those symptoms, and of course, coming to you,
Yeah.
what would the first step be if they could do something in the meantime before working with you?
Yeah, you know, a lot of people, this is a great question. Everyone always wants to know, like, what do I do first? Or what are the 3 things I need to do? A lot of the thing we do most, which we have no control over, is our breath. We have control over it, but it's autonomic. Like you can't stop breath. You can't actually die by suicide by stopping your breath, right? It's not something you can hold it for a little while, but eventually you're going to breathe. And the reason you breathe, most people don't even know this either, factoid. The reason you breathe is because there is so much pressure from the outside world pushing down on you that the only way to neutralize the pressure between your body, inside your body and outside your body, is to take an inhale, which increases all the volume and equalizes pressure. So breathing is like, yeah, it's so cool. Like we are just these cool organisms. I'm so fascinated by the human organism. So yeah, we have 14 pounds of atmospheric pressure for every inch of our body. That is a lot of pressure. And so in order to equalize it, we inhale. Every time you inhale, you neutralize the pressure between you and the outside world. So the first place to look at is, I would say, breathing. And when I look at a lot of people who come to me with pelvic floor issues, they're like chronic belly breathers. They don't expand their ribs at all. They keep their ribs locked down. I see it a lot with athletes too. Like their obliques are so tight. And so the tension in the obliques is pulling the base of the rib cage down. And so every time they breathe, they're just pushing out into their belly, a lot of pressure. And when you belly breathe, you put a lot of pressure down on your pelvic floor. So the first place I would say is learning to breathe in a 3-dimensional expansive way using your rib architecture. If you look at the shape of the body, it tells us where the breath needs to go, but most people send their breath into their lungs, but they do the movement of breath in their belly.
That reminds me, thank you for all of that. That was amazing. So interesting. Is it true that being a chest breather, or, and I remember reading one of the certifications that diaphragmatic breathing
Yeah,
starts with your belly button rising and then your chest, kind of like a cylinder
yeah,
filling up.
yeah.
Is it true that not breathing properly can lead to, your rib cage changing shape and then an array of other issues?
Yeah, I would say that not using any part of your body optimally will lead to atrophy of that area, right? Like, so people, for example, there's a lot of people who don't breathe into the back part of their rib cage. So we would call that the posterior rib cage. So the posterior rib cage back here is designed to move when you breathe. But a lot of people don't. So what does that presentation look like? That presentation looks like you're stuck in an inhale. Your ribs are flared out. Actually, this is one of the most common questions I get in my DMs. People are like, do you know what to do about my ribs being flared out? And they're like stuck in an inhale shape. Very kind of big barrel chested people. And when you watch them breathing, their ribs are not moving at all. And it goes hand in hand with this pattern of being very extended in their back. So they're very kind of cut off in their back, very extended, a lot of tension in like the thoracolumbar area. And then their ribs are they're here.
I've seen that.
It's a very common pattern, especially that you think about how many people want a flat belly. The fastest way to get a flat belly is to suck it all in and to pull your rib cage up. You don't realize you're doing that. You're just you're just sucking it in. So definitely I would say that if you are not, if you're, that a lot of patterns we see posturally could be the expression of the ribs changing, the ribs and the spine changing. The same thing when you see people really hunched over, they're not moving breath into their ribs here at all. And so any postural presentation, I would say, is probably also very, very related to what we're seeing in people's breath.
So interesting how just breathing can literally change your life.
Yeah, well, think
Just
about it.
breathing right.
Yeah, think about it. The breathing, if you are using your ribs wrap around and attach to your spine. So every inhale you take is an opportunity to actually move your spine. And every exhale, and it's tiny, it's really minute, but it happens with optimal breathing. And every exhale is an opportunity to flex your spine. So breathing optimally creates a tiny bit of movement through your spinal column, which is not a tiny spot of your body. It's a long area with a lot of joints, right? So every breath you take has the potential to move your spine, your ribs, your upper body. But if you are not doing that and you are belly breathing and locking your rib cage down, you're also locking down your spine.
This is fascinating. I've
It
never,
is interesting.
yes, I've never gone this deep. Scratch the surface, like in a couple certifications saying how being slumped over decreases energy levels and, like that. But that was about as far as it got. So I'm definitely going to go down a Google wormhole after this
Yeah,
and,
good.
yeah, or check out your
Chat
course.
GPT will help you.
Oh, I love ChatGPT. It's amazing.
We
It
all do these
is.
days. I know, it makes life easier.
It does. I'm curious. Random question, kind of thrown in the
Yeah,
mix.
yeah.
What is your driving force? Because I know you've been so committed to your business and serving others. What drives you? Your fundamental why?
I got into the work I got into, I think because I wanted to, when I had my injury and I didn't know what was going on in my body, that feeling of dependency on others and then who to believe. I don't know if you've ever been there, Jonathan, but it's like I dug so many holes looking for answers and I felt like I didn't dig any hole going deep. It was like many shallow holes looking for water, but I just needed one deep hole. And it took me a while to find that place, which I think is part of the evolution. I think that education is empowering. And I want people to have, especially I work with women and females. And I make that distinction because I work with people primarily who identify as women. I work with a lot of females, but if you identify as a woman and you have like the cultural kind of issues that come along with being a woman, I talk a lot to that because us women who identify as women are facing, it's not easy, right? Like we are not given basic information about our bodies. We're not told about pleasure. We're not told what to do when it goes wrong. My 19-year-old daughter regularly calls me. She's like, Mom, she gives me the phone. She's like, Mom, talk to, and then it's a friend, talk to Jody. Let's just say Jody.
Wow.
Jody's having pelvic floor issues, or Jody's urine is brown. What should she do? Or Jody has had a boyfriend for 6 years and has never had an orgasm. Can you help? Like, it's amazing. My daughter calls me from college. I've become like the sex therapist of her and all her friends.
That's
I love
amazing.
it. Oh, I love it. I love it. And they make really good, smart choices. Kids who are sexually empowered, believe it or not, don't go chasing sex. Like, they are so empowered that they're like, no, they need to work to get this. It was beautiful.
That is.
It is beautiful. So like, I'm always kind of got females and women about their bodies. And so I think my why is like, you should know everything there is to know about. This is an organism. This is a beautiful biological cellular organism. It's so powerful and magical. You could say it's magic and miracle, but it's actually just like this scientific wonder. And you deserve to kind of know about it. So I try to just make information that's been gate kept more freely available. Like, if you're struggling to orgasm, here, let me help you, right? Like, here, I'll help you out. So yeah, I would say my driving force is like empowerment and education, which ultimately leads people to feeling safer in their bodies. I
Yes.
look at my 3 daughters and they are very safe in their bodies. Like, I can just see it. They just feel safe in their body. It's beautiful to see.
I love that. I love that because you're right. We're not taught fundamentals that we should be taught. Like I remember, this is a small example, but it kind of correlates. Where growing up, I didn't know how to work out, and I learned through trial and error. Had imbalances, injuries, lower cross syndrome. Really tight hip flexors.
Yeah.
Glutes turned off, and no one knew what it was. I would tell people I couldn't feel my glutes when I'd work on my legs. No one made the connection. And so I had injuries, quad dominant, slight hamstring tear, iliotibial band syndrome, and I could not find the answers. And it's amazing that now people like you are, focusing on what needs to be shared and bringing that to light. So thank you, seriously.
Thank you for sharing that too. Yeah, it sucks to be hurt and not know which direction to go. And that the answer that's thrown at you is take an Advil or have a glass of wine if you're a woman. Have a glass of wine if you're a woman is the favorite thing that they say to us. Take an Advil or here's a surgery.
That's so true. It's so corrupt, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I'll have surgery, but first could we talk about the options? Like, sure, okay, maybe, but like, let's talk about all the other options, Like a friend of mine just gave birth, and a cesarean birth, which is sometimes very needed, but oftentimes not. And I said, oh, did you ask the doctor what your options were? And she was like, no, I didn't even think I could.
They didn't
Yeah.
even provide other options.
She didn't even say, yeah, do I have any options before we do this? And then when they read through, like, she got her medical records and read it, she was like, there were so many things that could have been done before a cesarean birth. It wasn't like, yeah, but it was like, that was the default and the doctor said to do it. And you're lying in a hospital bed feeling vulnerable, not to mention you're in labor and you care about the baby you're carrying. You're not going to go against what a doctor says. The doctor says, I have so many clients who cancel their surgery on their pelvic floor after working with me because they're like, oh my, I didn't even know there was another option. And I'm not here to poo-poo surgery. I had spine surgery 2.5 years ago. I'm so grateful I did. Thank you, surgery. Thank you, surgery. But I think that it's not necessarily a first line of defense the way we are using it as one.
I see. So a time and a place, but not the first option.
I think so. And I don't think most people probably don't need the surgeries we're giving them.
Oh yeah, I've heard a lot of horror stories in that sense. I'm curious. My brother and his wife, they just had a baby, and she had a C-section. I'm curious with that, is it more C-sections are more recovery time than natural birth, right? And is there anything that people who get C-sections can do to expedite that healing?
Yeah, I would definitely not expedite the healing if I were you. Like, I'm a big fan of like, there's certain things in life that we just can't expedite. But I think what you're also saying is like what can we do to make sure she's healing well?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, because you can't rush tissue adaptation, right? And like,
that's true.
When you've had a cesarean birth, it's a big deal combined with childbirth, which now you have like a uterus size wound in your body. And you've had a C-section, which is one of the most intense surgeries out there. People don't realize that because it's so routine. It's actually a really intense surgery. It's intense. So I don't know if you've ever watched a cesarean birth. You can, I think, watch them on YouTube. It's fascinating to see, but you're like, they just did that to her? Like, whoa. It's amazing to see. It's really amazing. And then suddenly they pull a baby out of the belly. It's Incredible. Yeah, it's a great technique, life-saving and everything. But so I would just say like walking and resting are your best. What I see is that people go back to working out too fast, too hard, too soon. So I get a lot of people who are postpartum injured from working out too fast and wish that they had just taken it easy for the first 3 months. So I always tell people like natural movement is actually how we evolved. Like, can you take a walk? And like pick something up off the floor, and maybe like 6 weeks later, after 6 weeks, clean your house a bit. Like that's a workout. That's a great way to stimulate your core and pelvic floor without suddenly throwing weights around, you know? So I like people to start with just like more like walking and then more natural movement type stuff
That's
for
great.
sure.
Great advice. Natural movement instead of rushing into the gym. I love that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
simple, so practical.
Yeah, take a walk and like squat down and pick up a rock and then throw the rock, not at somebody or a car, but like, you know, just do something or play ball, like catch a ball, like take a light ball and throw a ball with your partner for a little while. I mean, there are so many things to do that aren't like, I just see so many people regret getting back to the gym so fast.
I see.
Your tissues, even if you had a cesarean birth, you still had a baby in your pelvic floor. So like people who've had a cesarean birth still have pelvic floor adaptation to that birth. Even if the baby didn't push out all the way, you know, there still was a baby with its head right there. And your pelvic floor was getting ready for that, right? So there's like a big change in your pelvis. The shape of your pelvis changes when you're pregnant. So like postpartum, you really just want those tissues to start coming back together. And if you are stressing them and loading them, not ideal.
I see.
Yeah, I wouldn't do
Wow.
that. Yeah.
That's the body is just amazing how it
It
can
is amazing.
do so much.
It is amazing. And it is also amazing how much pressure we feel to make it look a certain way so fast.
Yes,
People who've had a baby feel a lot of pressure to like get their body back, unfortunately.
it does seem that way. And of
Yeah.
course being a mother, you know more than me. Is it society impressing all of that on?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then you see these influencers who are like, had a baby 2 weeks ago. Like, and you know, great. But like some people had a baby 2 weeks ago and don't look like that.
It's
It's like, it's just so hard. It's not easy.
it's funny you say that because all I've been getting is those. My girlfriend actually is pregnant, and
Wow. Congratulations.
thank you, I appreciate that. And
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
thank you. And we actually we haven't announced it yet. My family knows, but by the time this episode and releases, we'll have
That's
announced it.
exciting.
But she sends me reels all the time, and they're all like pregnancy reels, and so I'm starting to get them in my feed on Instagram, and so and I see exactly what you're talking about. It's like these pregnant women, before, after lifting, and I understand what you're saying completely.
What I ate in a day to gain 30 pounds when I was pregnant, and it's very toxic. I mean, it is, and sometimes it appears to be healthy content, but it's actually not healthy. Like what I ate in a day is not healthy content.
Makes sense.
Ever.
Really does. Ever.
Ever. Ever.
True.
Ever. Like, I just don't think what I ate in a day, if we're talking about health, that's not healthy. Like, what I ate in a day is not what you ate in a day. And they hyper focus in what I ate in a day. And it's usually next to somebody who looks like they haven't eaten in a week.
That's so true. Everybody has different dietary needs, preferences. That's so true. So true.
It's a lot of pressure driven. Yeah. So, well, good luck to your partner. That's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That means a
And
lot.
good luck to you. Yeah.
Thank
Yay.
you.
It's exciting. You're going to have a 15-year-old babysitter in the house too.
Yes, yes. Fortunately, he's very good with kids.
Yeah.
He's used to having babies, little kids around
Amazing.
on the other side of the family. But I'm
Yeah.
curious to ask you, your course, Restore Your Core, that is specifically for women, men as well, or mostly women, the 1 in 3 who have
Tons of
those?
men do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. And that's to help them with that pelvic floor dysfunction? So exercises?
I mean, yeah, I would say it's for anybody
Okay,
who has a pelvic floor and wants to optimize the system, because we all have a pelvic floor and it is part of a very important system of support of the body. But I would say that specifically, it's a body weight only program. There's no lifting weights. I think that a lot of people, and I lift weights. I love weights. So I'm not against weights at all. I think women need to lift weights, but I think that a lot of people are lifting weights without a strong base and foundation. And so it's for, yeah. And then I get a lot of people who are like, I started lifting weights last year and I was so proud of myself. And then I got a prolapse. And I'm like, ooh, yeah, because it's a pressure. I mean, if you're not able to handle the load, again, it goes back to load and pressure. And what our capacity, the capacity of our tissues is based on use. Anyway, so yeah, I would say it's like for anybody looking to optimize their core and pelvic floor in like a really progressive, mindful, intentional way. There's no shaming language. You're not going to hear me being like, one more rep. There's none of that. It's very, it's a gentle approach, but it is a physical approach. And I think a lot of people think of core and pelvic floor rehab as like lying on your back doing dead bug exercises, but you don't live your life lying on your back mostly. You live your life moving around your life. So it's a lot of like lunging and squatting, but not again in this intensive way. It's learning to do these skills with your core coming along for the ride. And I think people always say to me like, oh, should I engage my core when I squat? No, you should should I engage my pelvic floor when I squat? And it's like, no, you should engage your pelvic floor never. Your pelvic floor will always follow your core and your breath. If you are focusing on optimizing alignment, form, posture, breath, and core, you can assume your pelvic floor is going to be pulled along there. The pelvic floor is responsive to the core and breath. So if we can just optimize and tweak the core and breathing, so the focus of my work is very core and breath. And by default, then your pelvic floor starts doing what it needs to do. Whereas a lot of programs are like, squeeze the pelvic floor, release the pelvic floor, do 500 more of those. And it's like, when you open the door, do you tell your biceps to work? No, you don't. They work. They just do their job. So we leave the pelvic floor alone in the program, but it is a pelvic floor program, but we're not like, tightening it and squeezing it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I love that approach because it shouldn't be isolated and it's not bodybuilding and then focusing on the pelvic floor in that sense. It needs to be integrated with its natural function. And the further we get from that, it's true, the more issues there are. So true.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, in yoga, there's a huge focus on engaging your pelvic floor for a lot of the exercises. And you're guided in a yoga class to keep your pelvic floor engaged the whole time. And anecdotally, a ton of my clients are longtime pelvic yoga teachers and yoga practitioners whose pelvic floors are so gripped and tight and don't know how to be in that flow state responsive to just natural human movement.
Oh yeah, wow. It's
yeah.
So much to unpack with already, about 30 minutes in and there's so much to unpack.
I know.
So many directions to go. Interesting. Wow. I'm curious, random question, but I have worked out my whole life and am stiff in certain areas. I often feel like my core, and I'm saying this because many can relate, I'm sure, but I feel like my abdominal muscles are so tight that sometimes when I breathe, it feels almost like restricted in a sense. Is that in my head, or is that actually? No, don't tell me that.
No, but nothing's in your head. But wait a minute.
Okay.
First of all, here's the good news. The good news is that you're in a feedback system with your body where something is being felt and you're feeling it. Like I work with a lot of people who wouldn't be able to describe what you just described because they're like not feeling their bodies. They're very disassociated, very disconnected. So the fact that you're feeling your body while it's doing what it's doing is amazing. Like that's amazing. And yes, it could be that you are, a lot of what we do in our bodies are patterns that we've developed by going through life and patterns that your body is not necessarily mirroring back to you. Like, it's not like every night you get a summary of your patterns, right? Like your body what your body does best is survive. And in order to survive, what it has to do is normalize everything you do so that you are almost in robotic operation mode 99% of the day. Like if you walked into a chaotic house and all you was like sensing and feeling and smelling and experiencing the chaos around you, you would go crazy, right? Like there's a reason why you walk into a room when someone's been baking banana bread and in 5 minutes you don't smell it anymore, but the smell is still there. You're just not smelling it anymore because you're used to it. So your body gets you used to your processes very, very quickly and stops saying to you, Jonathan, process, it stops telling you. But then sometimes you feel that stretch and you're like, wait, why do I feel such a big sensation or restriction, whatever you're feeling? And you're like, God, I feel so restricted in my core. It's probably a pattern that you are definitely in regularly that helps you cope somehow. Maybe it's a pattern because, and this is conjecture, this is not about Jonathan.
Yeah.
Maybe you sucked your belly in a lot as a kid because you were bullied. Who knows? Maybe your parents, I'm not talking about you now. Maybe Joe. Maybe Joe's parents screamed at him all the time as a kid and his reaction was to tighten and tense up. Maybe Joe just chose to work on his abs extensively, but not necessarily do whole body integration movements. So he has created these very isolated, tight abs, and that's what is being experienced. It's so hard to know what, but I would say that if you are feeling restriction, there is restriction. But I wouldn't also say that's a bad thing. Like, finding restriction in your body should be exciting because it shows you that you're A, feeling, and B, aware of this pattern that's supposed to be kind of numbed and muted, like the body, so if your body is whispering and then screaming, I would listen to it and just use it as this opportunity to see how you can change this pattern. And be excited that like you're not just numbed out to all your patterns.
I love that. The way you made me also realize, you kind of turned it around in a sense. Saw the positive about, you're right, a lot of people aren't body aware. So that is true, to be grateful to have that level of body awareness to know what's going on. And then the adaptive tightening might not necessarily be a bad thing, but to be aware of it, that's wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
And it's like, if I started jujitsu tomorrow, probably the jujitsu class would be really hard for me. And so maybe if I was a different person, I'd be like, I'm quitting. This sucks. It's hard. But me, I'm always looking for what's hard because I'm always like, if it's hard today, it's because my brain doesn't know it. And I know that our brains thrive off learning curves. Like our ego hates learning new things, but our brains love being dumb. Our brains love not knowing and then learning. That is like, how do you keep your brain sharp? Learn new things all the time. So for you, it's like, use this as an opportunity to learn something new about your body. Like go down the rabbit path of like, what is this? And why is this happening? And be excited to figure it out rather than bummed out that something is wrong with you, because nothing's wrong with you. You're in a human body that's giving you feedback. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
That mentality. Everyone needs to adopt that mentality, that mindset. I'm going to remember that.
Having had multiple injuries, I have a lot of experience.
That is cool, though. I've never thought of it from that point of view, but you're right. We're in a human body. Things happen, things adapt, things change.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm gonna have to rewatch this and really think about everything all this insight. So much value. Thank you, seriously.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Jumping around a little bit, I'm curious. Do you have any specific morning rituals or mental exercises that you do?
Yeah, a few. I mean, my morning ritual, my biggest ritual in life is that I am a habited soldier. I am a soldier of habit. I am committed. I do not believe in motivation. Motivation gets you to the stadium, but habit takes you to your seat. So it's fun to be motivated, but it dies down fast. So like I wake up at 5, I have a coffee, I walk my dog for 2 miles, and then I work out. Sometimes, so 4 days a week, I do a strength training program, like a strength training workout. And then 3 days a week, I do mobility. I do not take days off working out ever. I do not, but I also don't, I would say I do not take days off movement. Because we are sedentary, like life is a day off movement. We live our life not moving. So I try to do some form of movement 7 days a week. And so, yeah, I would say like my morning ritual is like self-care for the first 2 hours, which is really privileged. I will start with that. I have designed my life having 3 children that I do get 2 hours to myself every day. But if you don't get 2 hours to yourself every morning, you can get 5 minutes. Like I always tell people, 1 minute is perfect. I've spent 20 years figuring out how to get 2 hours, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah, my kids are like 19, so it's taken me like 20 years to figure this out. But I get 2 hours to myself every day. I self-care like it's nobody's business. And then, like, my biggest mindset thing is that I don't believe the stories, the emotional stories that my mind wants to tell me. So I'm really good at witnessing story and not buying into hysteria. And I'm really good at just being able to witness, like, if my back hurts, it doesn't mean my back is broken. Like, I can just witness. Like, this morning I was doing these deadlifts and my back was pinching, so I put more weight on the fucking bar and then my back stopped pinching. Right? Like, and I'm not saying that, like, if something hurts, go harder at
Yeah.
all, but I understand pain science, and I felt like my body was giving me a false feedback loop, so I wanted to test it, so I went heavier, and I was right. I was testing a pain science theory that I'm pretty sure was happening to me. But my point is that, like, yeah, most people would be like, my back, oh my God, deadlifting is bad for me. I should never deadlift. I had surgery 2.5 years ago. I felt that pinching 2 years ago before 3 years ago before I had surgery. The pinching means I'm doing something bad. Oh my God, I need to call my physical therapist. Hysteria, catastrophe. So
I've
I
seen
do
that.
not catastrophize events in my body. And I literally try to just witness things regularly, and it is my favorite life tool.
That is great advice. Wow, so much there. But I'm curious. I'm gonna pinpoint I love how you put that. The false alarm that you got. You said you wanted to
Yeah.
test a theory. What theory is that?
That pain is a warning signal, and it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with your tissues or that there's something wrong with the barbell or the move. Nothing's wrong with your tissues, the barbell, or the move. Your brain is perceiving threat, and it's doing what the brain does, which is warn you, which is what pain is. Pain is nothing more than a warning unless you've just been run over by a truck,
That makes
right? Like,
sense. Oh yeah.
yeah. Yeah, or you've been burned, or like a dog bit you or something like that, but like you cut yourself. Like, most people who are feeling a twinge of pain in a movement panic and think that something's wrong. It could be. Like, it could be. It definitely could be. Like, I dropped a bar on, like, a weight on my toe the other day. Like, that was something wrong, right? I definitely did something wrong in that moment, but that's an acute pain story.
Yes.
But a pinch in a movement doesn't always imply that the load is wrong. It could be that your brain is falsely tricking you into a pattern that it's used to going down. Remember, I talked before about how the brain creates familiar patterns. If you ate sushi as a boy, as a young kid, and you vomited your brains out, every time you see sushi, you might feel nauseous. But how do you explain that? You didn't even eat it yet. Now you're nauseous. This happens to people all the time. How do you explain if you've been in a car accident and now you're the passenger, you start getting clammy and sweaty? There's no threat of an accident. Like, you're just sitting in a car. So our bodies create familiar warning strategies to protect you because our nervous systems are amazing, but they're not necessarily, like, up to date with what's
Yeah.
the reality of our life. So the reality of my life is that sushi's not going to make me sick. Maybe it made me sick once, but, like, I don't have to get nauseous when I see sushi. So the same thing with the barbell. I was like, okay, I feel a pinch in my back because my old pattern before I had surgery, the injury that I had then, would produce a pain when I bent over. So, bending over to pick up the barbell, you're bending over. And every time I would lift the load off the floor, I would feel the pinch. So I just thought to myself, what would happen if I don't know, go heavier and see what happens? I did. I was like, I'm just going to put 2 pounds on each side just to test. And in fact, like, the first 3 reps were hard, but by rep 8, I was done. Like, there was no more pinching.
That is so cool.
The pinching had gone away.
That is so cool. I think the
Yeah.
nervous system the mind is fascinating, but the nervous system, I have been drug-free my entire life, which my point is coming from that, where I feel like being drug-free, tell me if you disagree, but I feel like it's allowed me to become more body aware. There's so many people on steroids, and it speeds things up, makes muscles too strong, too fast, connective tissue weaker.
Yeah.
Not hating on, bodybuilders. I have friends, in that industry who take steroids, but for everyone else, they shouldn't. But anyways, my point is that it's amazing being drug free because the body, I've never had any traumatic injuries, and I attribute that to being body aware, and I attribute the body awareness to that longevity, that slow progress. And I remember some situations where I'd have a pain, like you were saying, And I never looked deeper into it. So this is so fascinating what you told me. A pain where it'd be like almost like a warning. And I'd immediately either adapt or kind of warm up a little better, and then it wouldn't bother me. And so it's like almost like the brain was like, I remember this, don't do it. And then you kind of calm it down, and then you can, so crazy.
And I think there's different ways of calming the brain down. Like one way is to be like, okay, I'll just go later. But then you're actually just reinforcing. So in the moment, you calm the brain down, but you don't break the actual association of like you don't train the brain to feel safe in that environment. It's like somebody who's afraid to go in water. You could just stand at the water's edge and look at it, and you might think that you are giving your body what it needs because you're not scaring yourself. Or you could train yourself to build tolerance to the water. So I'm not saying go dunk your head. I'm saying what would happen if you just let the water rush over your feet? Like when I put heavier weight on my barbell, I literally just did a 2.5 pounds per side. We're not talking craziness. But I was like, I know this is not about the load I'm using. And I know it's not about the movement I'm doing. It's about my brain being worried. And if I take more weight off, I'm going to tell my brain that that was a threat. I'm going to reinforce the threat. And other people would be like, no, that's self-care. And I'm like, that's not actually self-care. That's staying in a tight little box. If you want more resilience, you need to increase capacity. And this is nervous system too. And the way you could increase capacity, both in like muscles and in resilience, is you actually figure out the least, like the most meaningful tolerable dose, and you go from there more. So again, you get your toes wet. You then, like maybe 3 months later, get your ankles wet. Maybe 3 months after that, get your shins wet. So I think that what people do is they think they're self-caring when they're like, oh my God, this hurts, let me just do a different stretch. You actually just told your body that that move is dangerous without meaning to.
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Reinforcing certain patterns.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Telling your brain that it was right and threatening you. And next time that threat's going to come right back.
Sense. And I love how you said to, pushing limits in a sense, pushing boundaries in a sense, because with lifting heavy with like low reps, I love how the nervous system adapts, where if you do like overload, when I was lifting, really heavy in like a powerlifting phase, the third set would always be easier. And, or doing like a rack pull, rack push, overload, crazy.
That's right. That's why, because your brain is like, I know where he's going with this. It's safe. The mountain lion didn't tear him to pieces. We're safe here. Like your brain just cares about, are we safe here?
So crazy.
So when you show it that you are, and don't forget, by the time you get to that third set, you are amped up too. Now you've got a cocktail of hormones helping you out. So like your own biology is reinforcing the safety because your biology is like, this is freaking cool, man. I'm like how cool am I? Like, this is amazing. Like you're in a positive space. Like everything positive is happening. So you're not feeling pain.
Yeah. So interesting how once the governing agent, is like, okay, you're good. The body is like, we got this.
It's the brain and nervous system. And then the mind just tries to get in the way. So that's why I'm always like, put the mind away. Just lock it up a little bit.
Lock it up. That is so interesting. Like fitness truly is holistic.
Yeah. It can be.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah, that's why I like talking about, like, I like the word fitness, but I prefer the word movement.
We're more holistic in a sense in that word itself.
And I just think some movement, not all fitness movement is fitness, but all fitness is movement. So to me, movement encompasses a lot more. There's a lot more possibility within the word movement.
I see.
Fitness is like very targeted kind of. I like it, but it feels limiting in a way.
That's a good point. And you're offering so many new perspectives. Like to be honest, I've never met someone who has so much insight and perspective because I've loved fitness, grown up in it, but I've never thought about these things in that light, in any of those perspectives you provided. So
Thank you.
It's very, it's like a paradigm shift for me. This is very fascinating.
I appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. This question is not a very deep question, but it's a funny question. And we're sort of reaching the end.
Yeah.
What is your biggest gym pet peeve? So in not necessarily a gym, but a gym setting, maybe a commercial gym. Do you have any specific pet peeves that you...
It's a good question. I work out like in a really small boutique gym with like 3 people. I would think that like I would probably be grossed out by having someone's sweat all over a machine that they didn't wipe down. I would assume that that would probably be a pet peeve of mine. Or someone commenting. I get, sometimes at the gym I'm at, people will try to comment on either, oh, you look like you've lost weight, or I'm not big on body comments. And so, yeah, this guy last week was like, I think you've lost weight. And I was like, huh. I was like, I don't know. I don't weigh myself. He was like, oh yeah, your face looks thinner. And I was like, okay. Like, but in my mind, I was like, why are you, like, why are we're so trained to comment on something, especially looks, especially someone's body. Oh, you look thin. You look good. Oh, you look thin. You look good. You look thin and good. So that would be and I find it happens in a gym setting often where people obviously are commenting on each other's bodies because there's this assumption that you're at the gym to change your body. I go to the gym to reinforce to my body that it's a body. Like I'm not there to change things. It's nice. It's nice having adaptation, but I go for very different reasons than most people. So I think all the commenting is definitely a pet peeve.
No, that was a deep answer and another perspective change for
The
me.
sweat is better.
It started
Keep it
with
shallow.
no. It's all about going deep with this. I appreciate that. I just threw in that as a more fun question, but I'm glad you
Yeah.
took it deep because that also changed my perspective. You're right. Most people go to the gym for superficial reasons.
Yeah.
And therefore their interactions are superficial, but we all should have a deeper reason. And then it wouldn't be as aesthetic focused if we had deeper reasoning to be there.
Yeah, like you're just exercising your human power. You're just like putting your human in a new environment and giving it some tasks. It's like walking the dog outside or, it's just doing something new with your human.
You've
That's how I see it.
Yeah, no, you definitely put a lot of thought into all of this. Seriously, that's interesting. Next time I go to the gym, I'm gonna be looking at everything differently. What is the coolest gym you've ever been to, would you say?
I used to go to an obstacle course racing gym and I loved it. It was so much fun, like American Ninja style. And it was really amazing, like climbing nets and swinging on ropes and jungle gymming and swinging across things. And the guys who owned it had created this like incredibly unique environment. And a lot of people there ran the Spartan races also. So it was very much like American Ninja training style. But I went there just being like, I'm just going to use my human in a different way. And it was fun. Like I just loved, I had never been like a runner. They've made us run. I had to run. I would never choose to run. So there was just like a lot of fun. It made working out interesting and fun.
That's cool. What was the name? Do you remember the name by any
Yeah,
chance?
it was called, they closed down that iteration. It was called Focused Movement Academy here in Miami, FMA. And then now it's called, I think, Warrior Kids. And it's mostly a kids opposite. My daughter is actually about to start coaching there. So my kids then were there because I believe that the best exercise for kids is human movement exercise.
Yes.
So like climbing things, swinging off things, jumping into walls, jumping off of walls. My daughter's going to start assistant coaching this week.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I hope it works out. We'll see.
That's
Yeah.
Congratulations. Following in
Yeah.
your footsteps in the industry.
Maybe.
That's cool.
We'll see.
I'm always looking for gyms like that because here in Sarasota, I love this city. Beautiful city if you haven't been. It's everything you need is like 10 minutes away. But there's so many commercial gyms. I have
Yeah.
friends who have a couple smaller, more functional places, but there was one gym that had OCR, Ninja Warrior stuff, about 30 minutes away. But
Yeah,
they-
the OCR.
yes, yeah. But it's hard to find. They don't really have anything like that around here. And it's so cool. It's, very functional. Love that stuff for sure.
I think it's a hard sell because people are used to like a gym work like format.
100%. When I was
It's a
actually
hard sell.
I was coaching there, and it was a small, very small class for the OCR classes and the Ninja Warrior classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun but very small.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. They almost shut down a few years ago. I was super bummed out. I don't work out there myself anymore, but it was amazing for my kids.
That is cool. Yeah. No, it makes
Yeah.
sense. I just have two more questions for you. One is for nutritional side. Do you have any
Mhm.
specific diet that you follow, or like Mediterranean diet, or okay?
No, I used to be a strict vegetarian and now I eat fish.
Okay.
But I am someone who has been, I don't want to say anti-diet, but I didn't grow up in a house with a scale. I never weighed myself. My mom never weighed me. My mom never made weight an issue. My mom never counted calories. My mom never read labels. So I kind of went through my whole life avoiding all of that and my kids too. My kids are very sensitive to being around girls who read labels, right? And I totally understand the other side of it, which is like here in America, we have a crappy diet and it's a really good idea to know what you're putting in your body. But when you're putting in your body edamame, I don't really need to be reading a label. Like you only need to read labels if you're actually eating food that requires label reading. That should tell you something already about what you're eating. So I've always just, yes, I am Mediterranean by background. I've always had a very Mediterranean diet, if putting it that way, but I've never actually had a diet or weighed myself or none of that. Like it's kind of against what I do and believe in. I do believe that diet culture has made a lot of people feel very unsafe in their body. And I do believe that a lot of people dish out health advice based on how the human body should look or how they believe the human body should look. So I think that, and I just work with so many people who have disordered eating patterns. I see that my daughter's friends, 99% of them have disordered eating by age 12.
Terrible.
Any sort of restricting food is disordered. Like your relationship with food changes when you count calories, restrict, all of that. I get why people do it. I fully understand. But I did macros tracking for 2 weeks because I was wanting to see my protein intake. And it like took me months and months to heal from the trauma of like, I was like, oh my God, this cup of cottage cheese that I would normally just like shovel down, followed by a bread, followed by a this. Like suddenly all I could see it in was like, that's 200 calories, that's 400. And it was like awful. I love food. I don't want to think of it that way. I actually love eating. And so, and again, maybe I have privilege because I am on the thinner side, right? But I don't try to be thin. I just live a health and I move a lot and I don't drink too much. I don't do nothing too much except for maybe like move. So like, I think that for me, my relationship with food has always just been, I don't want to taint it. And those 2 weeks of just writing down everything I ate and then seeing it reflect in how many calories, I was like, this is wrong. Like, this is wrong. This is so wrong for me. It's wrong for me.
Yes.
So I definitely don't have a diet or follow anything besides the fact that I am like very veggie I eat a lot of like protein and veggies. I don't really crave like Chick-fil-A. No offense to people who do.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not like I came from this, I didn't grow up in America. So I didn't grow up on fast food because I didn't grow up in America. So I just grew up with maybe a very different diet that I'm just not drawn to like me and my sister, neither one of us is drawn to like a junk food American diet because
That's
we didn't grow up
amazing.
here. Yeah.
The I was gonna say I agree with you 100%. I've actually never tracked anything either because I feel like your body tells you. I feel like even when you're hungry, you eat. If you're craving something salty, maybe you need some more sodium. I feel like your body tells you. But I know there's a time and a place for it for people who are. But it does develop certain bad habits because my girlfriend was telling me how she did a bikini competition and she got so used to
Yeah.
tracking everything and it was so hard to break free of that. And she was saying the same things where it messed with her and
It
it
does.
was hard to break that pattern. So I agree 100%. There's a time and a place, but generally, if it's not needed, your body tells you.
Yeah. Balance. Like just live in balance. Just
Yeah,
be balanced. Like when you are well balanced in all the systems, right? Emotional,
true.
nervous system, sleeping, when it's all dialed in. Like, and tracking is a great way. Tracking is a way to mess up your nervous system and be dysregulated. And stress is the number one killer.
Interesting.
Like when you are tracking, you're like some people, it makes them happier because they like to know, like knowing how many calories they ate makes them happier, but it doesn't really make you happier. Like maybe in the moment it makes you feel better,
Yeah,
but like that is not a natural way to be. There's nothing natural about that. There's
makes
nothing
sense.
natural about obsessing over every calorie in your body. That's not right. And that you don't trust that you can live without that app, that you can just make choices for yourself that are right and healthy. Again, I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying for me, I'm like, this is counterintuitive to health.
No, that's a good point because 50 years ago, nobody tracked that I know of. It was just they were active, they ate less of certain foods. No, I agree. The closer you get to nature and how it should be, the better off we are.
And the more you live in balance with nature, you wake up with the light, you go to bed with the light. When the sun goes down, you go to bed. So you don't eat, I don't go to bed at like 5, but I certainly don't stay up past 10 most nights, which again, no judging. Like my daughter is a total night owl. Like she was born to be up all night long. No judging. But I think that when you live in when you live in a rhythm, so if night owl is your rhythm, great. But morning, like day person, but be in rhythm.
True,
Do the same,
true.
be regimented. Put everything into balance. Have routines. Have a habit. Be disciplined. And try not to eat food that has a bazillion labels on it that you need to like worry about the label. Like what
True.
ingredients are in here? If you're wondering what ingredients are in here, you shouldn't be eating it.
You make it so simple.
I think it is simple.
I agree. I agree. It ultimately is so simple, but we overcomplicate things
Yeah,
sometimes.
we do.
Before I get to the last question, I'm curious. Where did you grow up? What's your background?
Yeah, so I grew up with like my father's from Morocco. And then we grew up in random places. One of them was Haiti, the island of Haiti, and then the island country of Haiti, and then another part of the world in Asia, in Hong Kong. And then moved back to Boston for high school, and then went to NYU in New York for university. And then when I was like 21, I left the country as well and kind of went back out into the world for quite a few years before returning back to the States in my late 20s after to have my first child. So I've been nomadic most of my life. But yeah, it was mostly like Hong Kong, Haiti, to an
That's
international father. So it was like, just spent a lot of my life kind of in his people's countries too.
that is so cool. Yeah, quite a background.
Yeah.
My dad is from Greece, and so we're neighbors
So cool.
in that sense,
Yeah.
and love the Mediterranean diet. But that's so cool that you traveled so much. Last question.
Yeah.
What is next for you? How you are going to excel beyond boundaries? I know you're already doing so, but what is next?
I've thought about writing a book. We'll see. I have my program that I've had for 10 years, which we have like over 15,000 members in our program. And we have not raised the price in 10 years or changed the program. So we are about to do a big change to the program. So that's huge. I've been working on it for a year. We're about to change the program, make the prices more relative to today and not 10 years ago. And that's a big deal. And I'm also entering a phase where I'm going to be an empty nester in the next 4 years, which is crazy to think about because I feel like my life has been dominated by raising 3 daughters. So maybe I'll write a book in my empty nest years.
That's exciting. Wow. New
Yeah,
chapter coming up, and
new
please
chapter.
write a book. You have so much knowledge to share, and from what I know, there's no information on what you have to share, or very little.
But yeah, I just don't know what I want to write a book about yet.
Oh, okay. So it wouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily be industry specific.
I don't know, maybe. Yeah, it would be, but it's like, what do people want to read about? We'll have to see.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm excited to see what direction you go from social media.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's been so lovely talking to you.
Thank you.
Your curiosity is beautiful. Like you're so curious and it's really lovely.
Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate that. I love to learn, and these are exciting times to live in because resources are at our fingertips. But I love meeting new people who are experts in their field. And honestly, I'm so grateful that you took time for my new podcast that's just getting started. Really
Yeah, it's
appreciate it.
exciting. Yeah,
Thank you
thank you.
so much. You're welcome. I'll end this here.